is called Catatonia. I first read it in July of 2023. I'll have to find the light the best. The pelting hail pulsates with my inner turmoil as I sit here alone at my kitchen table, sobbing. Tonight, he's in the hospital again. Damn it. Catatonia has gripped his being, cloaking him in a shroud of silence. Where is my vigorous, animated man? Barely talking, he oscillates, sometimes in sentences, sometimes barely above a whisper in jumbled words, sometimes unable to say anything at all. He's mute. His haunted, sorrowful eyes search my face. He hesitantly asks if I'm okay. I respond, I am okay, but how are you? He cannot answer, just another indecipherable question. I knew something was oh so wrong. I felt it inside. The new medication strangling his brain from within. Shouting in my mind, but calmly, I told the ER docs, he's regressing into catatonia again. Only to hear their pat reply, no, have him take an increased dosage today and go home. But what about his slipping into catatonia? He'll be fine. Well, he wasn't, and he isn't, and he won't be for some time. His essence withdraws, pacing, anxious, paranoid, and voiceless. Urgently, I phone my mom. We need to take him back to the ER tonight. He's in a bad state, and we can't wait till tomorrow. The ER nurse asks why we're back. What's the difference? The difference. He's gone. He's mute. He's sad. I'm mad. I feel had by the ER this morning. She listens and allows him into the examination room, traumatizing him, traumatizing me, traumatizing. The psychiatrist on call actually consults with us this time. He sees my beautiful husband struggling to exist, struggling to find non-existent words. My husband is admitted. I hug him one last time before two burly security guards walk him down to the psych ward. I won't see him till the next day. Paralyzed again, with mind and body, he rages within. Ring, ring. My phone rings, wakes me up. A soft, hello. Dan, is this you? My husband, Dan. Yes. I wonder, how can he be talking to me? Maybe he just needed a really good night's sleep. I'm coming to visit you soon, I tell him. I phone his psych nurse. How is he? She says, she remembers him from 2018. An injection of 2 milligram Ativan helped him come out of catatonia a bit. So I gave him a shot today, and it seems to be working. Dan's angel, my hero, you've brought my husband back to me, even if in a small way. He's no longer totally mute, just slightly, depending on the time of day. I'm hopeful. Hopeful that my husband won't have to have such a hard conflict to surmount as he creeps back towards sanity. I'm wrong. His journey is just as hard, if not harder, this time round. The Ativan is not sticking yet. It's not staying in his system long enough for him to have a full day of remembrances. Not enough, not enough, not enough. Mix in terrible paranoia, add on ongoing anxiety, and add to that his confusion regarding his dreamlike existence. This is an extremely tough path to navigate, the ups, the downs, and the indescribable in-betweens. Catatonic schizophrenia, the mood disorder plaguing my husband's mind. So little is known about this illness. Finding a cure is a heart-wrenching journey. I know my husband is in there somewhere. When I glimpse his essence, I am reassured that he will make it out this time too. Side note, It took a very long 8 months and quite a few ECTs, but my husband is home now, and he's actually here tonight.
Good evening. Let's give it up for the owl. Yay! Hard to follow, Veronika. This poem is going to be published sometime in the next month. It's funny how many of my poems are about bars. The bar is filled with laughter. It's not what someone said, but rather how they said it. With mirth, we shake our heads. Our happiness is golden. It lights the room around. Our hearts are filled with joy as good friends and chat abound. While the room still sparkles, a dark figure marches in. Our happy mood just crumbles to silence, gone our grins. We recognize this shadow as our nemesis steps forth. We blame him for our trouble. He's quite a grumpy sort. We know we want to shun him, or at least say something mean. But he speaks first and tells us, things aren't the way they seem. I've always been quite jealous of your loud and happy ways. I struck back at you because I thought you laughed at me always. We ask him to sit down with us and order him a beer. Contrite, we share with him our humor, and soon he sheds his fear. We realize with reflection that his crabby attitude reflected our rejection more than his ineptitude. So now we sit together and laugh at trivial things, thankful for his presence and all the joy it brings. Thank you.
When I was here last month, I was really struck by how unique our styles are. Each of us has our own way of writing poetry. And I realized that I write a lot of autobiographical narrative poems, and this is one of them. And I'd like to thank Carrie for helping me tweak this. I wrote it in past tense, and she suggested I write it in present tense. And I was a bit dubious, but I tried it, and it worked. There's a reference here to Qualicum, which is Qualicum Beach on Vancouver Island. I'm sure some of you know it. It's called Kindness in Qualicum. We've stopped for the night in a campsite on the beach. Other campers in a row stretched out on either side of us. Behind us, across a paved parking lot, a row of mobile homes. Our tent is a tiny orange prism, a so-called pup tent, with barely room for two in tightly packed sleeping bags. Tired from the day's travel and from the fresh sea air, lulled by soft waves lapping at the shore, we fall asleep with ease, and then the rain begins. And oh, how it can rain right beside the sea. We stay mostly dry, but wake shivering cold, and everything is feeling damp. So just after dawn, we begin to pack up, wondering what to do with the dripping tent. Just then we start to hear, cutting through the din of incessant rain hitting hard, an insistent voice calling over and over, "Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo." Through the gray haze, we see a woman standing at the open door of one of the mobile homes. We ignore her, having no idea who it is she's calling. But very soon, her husband, rain gear hastily donned, comes to us and says, "Come inside, where it's nice and warm, and bring the tent. My wife says we'll put it in the dryer." With slight hesitation, we accept his generosity, and soon are warming at their kitchen table, Hot, fresh coffee and toast before us, with more food just about ready for breakfast. We visit while the tent is drying, then say our words of thanks, and soon set out on our way, our day off to a lovely start. Total strangers, they to us, we to them, our paths never to cross again. But oh, the kindness of their caring. If we ever knew their names, they're long gone in memory's bin. But still, the goodness, the kindness of their deed that day will never cease to resonate, to ripple out across time's sphere. This second poem is very different from the sort of poem I usually read here. We've heard over the last, was it 6 years, Teri? I think nearly 6 years. We've heard a lot of poems about the harm, the hurt, the awful things that organized religion has done to people. And I'm not denying that in the least. But I'm hoping this little poem might give a glimpse of what it's supposed to be about, and that is love. This is called In Disguise. I saw Jesus yesterday. Of course, he was in disguise, bearing an assumed name, but still, I recognized him right away. A bunch of us from book group were about to walk the labyrinth, the one laid out on the floor of the warm and spacious place upstairs. Chatter settled down, and soon we started, one by one, to enter the measured pathway before us. But one of us was confused, uneasy and uncertain, betrayed by a brain caught in the cruel clutches of Alzheimer's disease. Jesus, in the pastor's guise, gently took her by the hand and guided her through the curvings back and forth of the patterned path. All along the way, she saw people she knew, friends she loved, grounding her with smiles in this old familiar place. Her face shone with delight and joy. And Jesus, he glowed with kindness, care, and compassion, and the certainty that he was doing exactly what he came here to do. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to sing my first one. It's my song called My Easter Lily, which I wrote March 13th, 2024. One spring when everything seemed dead, with grass still gray and trees still bare, I somehow spotted hope ahead. Hope lit the way to find her there within her flower bed. My Easter lily, bright as day, had healed the air with her perfume, reminding me of days in May I'd hoped we'd share. My winter's gloom was gone and hope would stay. Within that March dark room, my lily rested with the other flowers. Her bloom outshone the others easily. Her gentle spring perfume had held me there to breathe her in for hours. My Easter lily resurrected me. All hope I had nearly died inside of me. That lonesome year, things sure were bleak and cold outside. Pure misery, with no one near and nowhere warm to hide. My Easter lily set me free. Her Easter cheer made spring arrive. So life was beautiful to see. The skies were clear, I felt alive with Lily close to me. Within that March dark room, my lily rested with the other flowers. Her bloom outshone the others easily. Her gentle spring perfume had held me there to breathe her in for hours. My Easter lily resurrected me. And I have two more Lily poems, and I'm just going to read them. This one's called Breakfast with Lily, and I wrote it March 12th, 2024. Most mornings, Lily hurried us away to grab some breakfast at some cool cafe, a ritual I didn't understand, since I could cook and would have lent a hand. Most artists whom I've known like going out. I've never understood what that's about. I tried to keep a friendly attitude, but why pay loads for ordinary food like oatmeal or a crummy berry scone? Not scone, but scone, she once corrected on a morning date. She liked correcting me. I hadn't been to university. She had, and she was older than me then. If I'd say scone, she just corrected again. I hadn't cared about how words were said, but Lily did. On breakfast dates ahead, I'd learned to use the proper names for food, which fed my grumpy morning attitude.
The first one is called Jingle Bells, because it's coming up on me and my partner's 1-year anniversary of me becoming his cat's mom. So this one's called Jingle Bells. Jingle Bells was the love of my life. I know it's silly to say a cat is the love of your life, but she was. She made every day better. The days I didn't love myself, she was there. The days I didn't want to eat, she was there eating with me. The days I was sick, she laid with me. She made me feel I had a purpose as her mom, and the love of her life. She impacted my life for the better, and when she passed, it felt like my whole world was crashing down. I stopped loving myself, I barely ate, I lashed out on everyone, but then I'd hear her meow, and I'd be back where I was when she was alive. This next one's about an ex that I had. It's called In 10 Years. In 10 years, I'll see you out in public, maybe at the place we met. I'll be buying my coffee and you'll be buying yours. We'll smile at each other, and I'll remember how you used to smile at me. I'll ask you about your day, and we'll talk, and I'll think about what we could have been. In 10 years, I'll have a ring on my finger, and you'll ask who's the lucky guy, and I'll tell you, even though I wish it was you.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Just before I jump in, I got two poems to share. I guess I kind of have some cool news. I mean, for anybody that follows like the lit journals and stuff, I'll have some poetry in them. Event Mag, Kaplan Review, and contemporary verse. So the cool thing is I read them here first. This first one is called Wolf Willow Beads, and it's about a time I went harvesting with Star last summer. For the Nitsitapi Blackfoot people, we make beads out of wolf willow, the seeds. You can find them like in the coulee and stuff. So, anyways, this is about picking art supplies on the land. Wolf willow beads. Gray fuzzy berries. 1,000 moons drying in August heat. Pick them before Sundance dust settles. Wade through ditch water. Swat mosquitoes at dusk. Help her fill a basket, a paper bag. We always leave enough for the birds, she says. Walk the gravel road back as sun dips behind mountains. At home, she soaks the harvest overnight. Fingers pruned and fish-bellied. You peel off the soggy velvet skins. Inside, the striped melon-shaped seeds, brown as eyes. Yellow ochre ridges run seamwise. She pierces each through with a beading needle. The string grows and snakes across the kitchen table. Every seed reminds you of a photo. Your grandmother visiting at a powwow. A wolf willow necklace draped down her dress. She left before you wove your first memory, but her smile lives in your DNA. Dancer, matriarch. You ask what project the beads will fulfill. Bracelets? She isn't sure. For now, the harvest is art enough. Also preparation. Is art enough? Always. Working with our hands is how we write, I pray. This next one is it's an erasure poem. So anybody unfamiliar with the form, you just take like an arbitrary section of text and you black out everything except the occasional word you want to keep, and you can make a poem out of it. Billy Ray Belcourt does like some really good stuff with this form, so please read him. And for this one, I used 4 pages from the Blackfoot Dictionary and made a poem out of it. It's called Yimechkinit Yeetstsini, which is shave the head of / cut. She shaved my head. She will not waste a mouth that is permanently twisted to one side. Joke / jest, so as to be disguised from the inhabitants. You will braid it. See, visualize, have vision. Afflicted with sugar diabetes. She caused me to live according to white culture. Just speak English. I spoke honor with a song in public. My eyes. I am / was blind as a dog. Last night, a throaty growl, just prior to attack. An expression normally used by women to convey disappointment. Clearly audible from a distance, well remembered in narratives / allegedly. She will dress your daughter, an imitator. She will make a confession. She, the ghost, will haunt him, a significant matter. Berries for storage. Decreased it, this which I am writing. When leaves grow, when it became summer, under suffering or misfortune, without a vehicle, speed away. She will, for example, the group of people, throw it away, carry on. I had antlers, the child on her back, my grandmother. She will push it away. She will feed him, hang one's dog, harden one's own body, transported by water, float along onto the shore. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, I'm Haley. How's everyone doing tonight? Good, I hope. Oh, awesome. All right, so the poem I'm reading, I'm going to read 2. One is a shorter poem, and the other is sort of a storied poem. So this one is entitled Found Objects. I walked. This wind stung my face. Snow fell like a spray of cotton balls along the Bow River Trail. Like shrink-wrapped
A white sheet covered a chain-link fence, a sign of surrender. And a few blocks away, 2 pillows were tossed by a dumpster. Like a hillside of moguls, we once skied. Remnants of home turned inside out. 3 city blocks, a discarded pink and white toothbrush, muddy and discolored. With these found objects, I could sleep here. So I peeked under a blanket of snow, yet I still haven't found you. This one is entitled Okinoki. It was last summer when my daughter and I pulled up to the house. The same house that my grandmother Isadaki had lived for much of her life was now the home to her daughter, my mother. Inside, I find my mom and my brother visiting around the kitchen table. They've been waiting for us. I get teased for being late. Kipataki, old lady, is the word I hear. We laugh and visit a while. A light breeze enters through the open window and is a sign of relief from the sweltering heat. We had planned to go berry picking in the morning, but we go anyway, though it's middle of the afternoon and not the best time of day to be working under the sun. To the east, Mokowansi, the Belly Buttes, still cradle a handful of teepees that remain from the Sundance, a reminder that summer too will be ending soon. It is about a 15-minute walk behind the house and down a small ravine to reach the berries. As we set out, each carrying an empty pail, there is no trail to guide us, so we make our own path. My mom uses a walking stick to help her hike through the tall grass, and I'm reminded of old grandma by the way she wears her flower-patterned scarf to wrap her hair back. My daughter, Marley, follows close behind. We're careful to avoid the hidden burrows on the prairie floor that may be home to gophers, badgers, or rattlesnakes. Anyone who has ever walked to their vehicle in the evening after a powwow knows just how quickly you can go from sauntering along 1 minute to laying on the ground the next. When we reach the top of the hill, I take a moment and rest and observe the valley of trees and listen to the river that runs through it. A deer appears in the thicket below and leaps into the forested area, its white tail waving goodbye. On the other side of the river is the neighboring Hutterite colony, a place my uncle sometimes goes to buy eggs and homemade banana bread for a bargain price. Once we get to the bottom of the hill, I find a good spot and start picking. I try grabbing at clusters of berries to fill my bucket faster, but the most I can pick are a few at a time. I taste as I go, and it's not long before my fingers are stained deep purple. Lowering one of the branches hanging overhead, I am reminded of Napi, the story that an elder once told me. As the story goes, one day Napi was very hungry. Knowing Napi, he was probably starving. Looking for something to eat, he came upon a riverbank and noticed a bulberry bush there at the bottom of the river. Right away, he dove into the water and tried to swim to the bottom, but before long, he returned to the surface without any berries. After several attempts, Napi became frustrated and was now more determined than ever. Just then an idea came to him. If he would tie 2 large boulders to his waist, surely this would get him to the bottom, where at last he could reach the berries. And so, with 2 large boulders tied to his waist, Napi jumped into the river and sank straight to the bottom, searching for the bulberry bush. Napi found nothing but pebbles and seaweed.
Frantically, he worked to free himself and swam to the top, choking and gasping for air. Tired and out of breath, Napi crawled onto the riverbank and lay on his back, still hungry. When Napi opened his eyes, there was the bullberry bush hanging over him. How do you say Saskatoon berries in Blackfoot? Henry's voice yanked me from my storied thoughts. Ohkidoki, ohkinoki, my mom replies. Ohkinoki, ohkinoki. I say the word a few times, knowing that if I don't, I'll soon forget. That's when I notice, growing out of the bleached grass around me, are tall ribbons of sage. I heed the warning, careful not to pull the root, knowing the plant would then cease to grow. I put down my bucket and gather a small bundle to use for the times I like to smudge. When we decide to go back up the hill, a couple of hours have passed. Our ice cream pails are full, and I have a new appreciation for the grandmothers who gathered here before me. I stop and crouch down to bury a fresh cigarette in the dirt, an offering to Abstadoki, and I realize home will always be my greatest teacher.
Those of you who were here last month, probably remember that I went to Hungary to see one of my oldest friends, Elizabeth. And it was a very, very emotional trip because she's 93, and I may or may not see her again. I wrote a poem about her, and it's a bit of an emotional poem. The candy package. They gave me a small bag as I was exiting the airplane in Budapest on my way to visit one of my oldest friends, Elizabeth. I thought it was a hand wipe and accepted it. When I discovered it was candy, I kept it thinking I will give it to her. She always liked sweets. After giving it to her, I forgot all about it until she asked me to write on the package that it was from me. I wrote "from Teri" on the package and drew 2 hearts on it. We had many delightful visits and reminisced about our past, our deep love for each other, and our long-lasting friendship. We participated in a singing circle together, and she asked me to sing to her like I did when I was a child. I recorded 4 videos with me singing, and she sang along with me while I embraced her. One day, she told me she will die happy because we saw each other. It was hard for both of us to say goodbye because we both knew we may not see each other again. She told me a few times that she is ready to join her late husband, Joe. She misses him so much. Her grandson, Frank, called me on my way home, and she was eager to talk to me. She told me about the candy package she found in her cupboard to her surprise. She said she will ask to be buried with it. I had a hard time holding my tears back, and after a while, I didn't care anymore and cried at the airport in front of people.
So 4 months ago today was my last day with my wife. She passed away that night. So I wrote this the following poem for the day we spread her ashes on the farm. In late November, death took you away, 2023, so early that day, the 28th day when my heart was split. I crawled into bed where tragedy hit, a pain so deep words will never express. I love you, sweetie. Goodbye, my princess. My love's always with you, as said in our vows, to cherish and hold you, my beloved spouse. Always and forever my love continues on, the pain of your loss. I wish you weren't gone. Just the evening before, everything seemed fine. There came no warning or symptom or sign. You moved through our house. I'm heading to bed. You spoke through the door. A few more were said. All right, sweet dreams. And I love you, I said. I love you too. You went off to bed. My memories of you will live in my heart, of your love, compassion, empathy, and smarts, your astounding strength and alluring style, your amazing laugh and beautiful smile. This was a year worse than any before. Your life was cut short. We should have had more. Using patience and love, you knew what to say, making life better every single day. And with that wisdom, you had the right words. You made things clear. Now everything's blurred. But if you were here, you'd tell us to grieve. You'd show us your strength and ask. Please believe, I'm with our family, my mother Lynette, friends who went before, and my cherished pets. Grieving is normal and shouldn't be rushed. It will get better even when we are crushed. The pain does subside but always remains. A paradox, grief, I cannot explain. So please spread my ash on this farm I loved, for here I'll remain a part of the mud. I'll sprout with the plants, I'll sway in the breeze, I'll stay here at home and mature with the trees. The farm's always calm, at peace I will be. I'm growing again with my family. I love you always even though I'm gone. I'm not far away, watch for me at dawn. When new days arrive, I'll watch from the sky. I'll rain down my love, never saying goodbye. I'll be with you all, my spirit is free. I just want one thing, please remember me. Remember the good, the fun times we had, all of our laughter and some of the sad. Remember our lives and the times that we shared. Remember my love and how much I cared. Remember it all, I love you so much. Remember my heart, it's something you touched. Remember one thing, most importantly, I know you love me, my whole family. So please spread my ashes, on the wind I'll blow free. My life will go on, in your memories. I love you, my caring, sweet, beautiful wife. You'll live in my heart for the rest of my life. I'm gonna read one more poem. I wrote this for my mom. She passed away on January 24th. 'Twas a month after Christmas when Mom passed away. Her hell is over. There's not much to say. She suffered too long, she slowly decayed. Her mind was taken, a gradual fade. It went on for years, 2 decades in fact, a third of her life, a painful impact. 'Cause when we were young, she told us her fears. She watched her mother with similar tears. Mom was the youngest of all her siblings, but first to show signs, dementia's sting. She often told us, if I get that way, please pull out the plug, not wanting those days. But with this disease, there's no plug, you see. There's no laws to help. She couldn't be free. Her mind a prison, her thoughts locked away, her talents declined, her life to decay. Quality of life is important to see, far more important than longevity. And she knew this fact, but couldn't escape. She was well cared for. A terrible fate. Spoonful by spoonful she was kept fed. Mouthful by mouthful she laid in her bed. She couldn't sit up, she couldn't say words. She couldn't do much, a life lived 2/3. Her nightmare came true, her mind gone too soon. Her body lay there, kept fed in her room. Her pain is over, the suffering gone. She's no longer here, she has now passed on. And with the grieving, a sigh of relief. Time has come for her and bit down its teeth. I will remember the times that were glad, your caring embrace and the love that you had. I love you, Mother, I say as I cry. I know you're at peace. I love you. Goodbye. Thank you.
Good evening. So what I'm about to read is, I'm not sure if it qualifies as a poem. I began it yesterday. It's more of an outpouring, I would think. It's called Moloch. Gotta find the beginning. Like the ancient Hebrew demon god Moloch, a hideous savage beast roams our streets at night, unseen, enticing our children and the weak-minded to eat of a forbidden fruit, and in turn be eaten alive. a human sacrifice, a mindless succumbing to an relenting chemical enslavement. Addicts hardwired in the brain to perpetually chase the tail of the dragon. At the hub of the port city of Vancouver, in the area around Hastings and Maine, locally known as Hastings and Payne for good reason, stretching for a few blocks in every direction, hundreds of unclean bodies are strewn chaotically on dirty sidewalks, or lean, bent over in grotesquely twisted positions, still as a Goya statue, so overtaken by fentanyl, 100 times more addictive than heroin, they appear lifeless, and in fact, some of them are. A modern-day plague that would unfruitfully challenge any modern-day Monty Python to devise a clever skit with this modern-day plague in mind. But we're well beyond that now. The medieval call to bring out your dead is beyond the reach of modern-day ears and blindfolded eyes, because everywhere else, threat-free, squeaky clean environments serve to deny its existence. But here, the sadistic dealer sadly remembers the death of numerous friends who have died from fentanyl, but in the same breath shamefully proclaims, "But I too have to live, and if I don't do this, someone else will." Death by overdose is a daily occurrence, as hospitals and ambulances are kept so busy that others in emergency situations sometimes needlessly suffer. In fact, every dose of fentanyl is in effect an overdose because it targets and seriously inhibits the respiratory system. Narcan kits are used everywhere, but still, significant numbers of people die. And in our so-called compassionate society, including towns and villages throughout the country, these addicts are considered a nuisance, like flies at a dinner table, or shunned like ungrateful alley cats that pick at the scraps we leave, their only hopes for survival being the next fix. Better ignored. But it is the dealers, and behind them, the cartels who perpetuate this mass murder. We now bear an untreated, festering wound which no swaddling cloth can treat or hide. Even some saints, like Gabor Mate, have saved but a few. I still grieve the loss of one adult son to the tragic curse of fentanyl, contaminated street drugs, and worry daily that I might at any time receive a phone call advising me that his 52-year-old, also addicted brother, my first son, or his also addicted daughter, the mother of my only great-granddaughter, may have met a similar fate. A call that is no less likely simply because their drugs of choice are respectively methamphetamine and crack cocaine, uptown, not downtown. But nonetheless, killers in disguise, because today fentanyl is mixed into every street drug sold to assure an exponentially increasing number of addicts and hence paying customers with an ever-increasing need to supply their habit. So Moloch now roams freely wherever there remain more children to be sacrificed. What black hand has written this into the law of the land, here in the supposed land of the law? Don't tell me faith in your benevolent God may have saved them when it appears from where I sit, they initially may have had far too much of it. Or that it comes down to a person's choices, so that because they made a particular bad one, they deserve their miserable fate. Some of you may hold me in disdain, guilty by association, for simply speaking about this seemingly forbidden subject. But these are our sons and daughters, or if you prefer, as it's common today, our kids, who have become the sacrificial lambs to the ever-hungry Moloch. If you and your lineage have somehow escaped this curse, then you are in a blessed minority. So how shall I avenge the death of my family when the killers number in the hundreds of thousands? Every fentanyl dealer, a purveyor of death, and should be treated accordingly. Together, they are worse than the Cosa Nostra, the Black Hand, or even Murder Incorporated, so prevalent that even RICO laws will never rein them in. Our society is in peril. The laws and healthcare systems must change, but that will only happen when enough people awaken to the suffering the scourge is causing and organize themselves effectively to curtail its growth and reverse its terrible outcomes. Somehow, we must find the courage and strength to unite beneath the banner, hold dealers responsible. Moloch must die.
So I'm going to read 2 poems. My first one is the first poem I ever wrote, which is called What If I Were Pretty? What if I were pretty? Sniffles under my breath, tears roll down my cheek. To wash the stain, the pain is coursing through my veins. I try to get rid of it, but there's always a remain. I try to stay clean, rather neat, but it's dirty below my feet, the sleet. So I mop and I sweep and I weep on the floor. I keep begging and wishing I was more. The sleep beneath my feet, I sweep it under a rug when all I need is a hug. It hurts like the bite of ticks, although there's no fix. So I wallow in self-pity, wondering what if I were pretty. Thank you. My next poem is called Tigger because it's a poem I wrote about my cat, Tigger, who died Sunday morning. Tigger. He flies. I miss his beautiful eyes. I remember him in birds. My feelings for him I can't express in words. I don't know what to write, so I just talk about his beauty and just fly it. I don't know if I'm right, but I think it was happy going into the light. Mr. Bird Killer, having him, the birds were something you had to consider. The poor critter. He was in pain, but didn't go in vain. In his muscles was strain, and his eating was hard to maintain. I held him, just bones. Sticks and stones could have broken him, but his and our love cannot be broken or stolen. So in that trailer, his body is frozen, but God chose him. So I'm open to see signs and in designs they align for him. 1,000 miles, 1,000 years I would swim. And I hope you're dancing in the sky, but I can't say goodbye, and I won't cry. So I look up at the sky and wave. He was such a beautiful guy. Just like him, time flies by. It goes from me barely being able to walk meeting him to dropping him off at the crematory. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready to let go, and I'm still not. My little boy, Tigger. And I know I said I wouldn't cry, but I'm still wondering if he really had to go and why.
These are a couple, I'm going to read a few poems. 2 of them are songs. This one it's an older song. It's called, tentatively, The Inner Realm. It goes like this. There's a complete and unquestionable loyalty that I give and I get continuously from those who are closest to me. Now I've come to expect it explicitly from my deepest, innermost circle, a place where there is not a lick enough room for doubt. A place where there is not a lick enough room for doubt. You must have those people that you can rely on. No one wants a close friend you feel you need to keep an eye on. And I want to be able to tell them anything and know that theirs is the type of person to always have my back through thick and thin. Because no matter the consequence, they're by my side, regardless of the reward, it's a love on... Let's say this again. No matter the consequence, you're by my side, regardless of the reward, it's a love unshaken by time. No matter the consequence, you're by my side. Regardless of the reward, it's a love unshaken by time. There's a deep and unquestionable loyalty that I give and I get continuously from those who are closest to me. Now, I've come to expect it explicitly from my deepest, innermost circle, a place where there is not a lick enough room for doubt. The center of my circle I do extend. This is the love and loyalty I feel for my deepest friends. That's one. Thank you. Okay. This is a new poem, and I wasn't going to say it was a new poem until I just started writing at the bottom of these notes on my phone my date. After Jill's poem about March 14th, I happened to just check my poem to see, and it was written on March 14th, so I figured I had to say something. Yes, and this isn't the way I feel all the time, but the way I did at that particular moment on March 14th. Here we go. We've lethargicked each other. With weed, late nights, great music, and alcohol, we've taught each other a sluggish lesson. Among many other glimmery, beautiful things, relaxing into unaccountability, comfort over responsibility, growth in creativity and art, yet stunted from financial clout and precisely planned spending. This vulnerability to slide into sleeping in, not prioritizing vital bills and obligations, plundering others' expectations by not making the effort your person deserves. Change this path. By my math, success at this rate is not written in the books. Distinguish what are the hindering factors and kindly remove them now. Could be the cure to persevere through pacification and remove this morning's dreamy, bed-attached blur, maneuvering motivation to stimulate body with its daily waking dose, overthrowing the new normal I've comfortably slipped into and finding the fire once again to light under my ass, alas, to transcend, to bend, to begin again, to push myself to the daily limit in the field of my interest, tweak trajectory, and end up in the place I always believed I was destined to reside, where comforts, responsibility, soul stimulation, and achievement all coincide. All right. All right.
I wrote this 2 years ago, and you'll notice from some of the political references in here, but the situation is still the same. April Fools. The news around me is harsh. Stats are showing that the vaccines themselves make you more susceptible to COVID. The new chemicals that civilization has released into the air and water over the last 70 years may be responsible for the explosion of neurological difficulties in children. Toxic masculinity is alive and well when an actor wallops the comedian whose joke he took offense to on worldwide live television. And oh yes, don't forget that imperialism burst out in war in the Ukraine, Russian empire building at its ugliest, and just as ugly, American empire building. So what's a trickster to do on April the 1st? Well, first, extend April Fool's Day to the rest of the year and be a fool every single day. Be a fool. Go write a poem. Ain't nobody gonna get rich doing that, and ain't nobody, well, practically nobody, gonna make a living doing that. Be a fool. Major in religious studies like my son at university. How are you gonna get a job with that? Be a fool. Raise the next generation of adults. Daycare workers and at-home moms aren't gonna be any engine behind economic prosperity. Be a fool. Listen to stories and read philosophy. Hang out with friends discussing them till dawn. You might be late to work tomorrow. A foolish thing to do. Be a fool. Date your spouse, even after 40 years with each other. Be a fool. Look into the eyes of the people you meet. Know that they're probably struggling too. Be a fool. Dare to be happy and peaceful. Have no need to argue, harangue, or conquer. Be a fool. The wisdom of peacemakers appears foolish to powerful men. Be a fool.
Okay, yes, I don't know, how many times can you cry in a poetry night? It's okay though. That's why we're here, to support each other too, so I also just love that as well. This first poem I'm gonna read, I got a text, I think it was about a week ago already, that was my 23-year-old cousin had a heart attack. He played hockey and he walked into the house at his parents' house and just collapsed on the floor. And so, of course, we were all in shock because how does that even happen? But he's actually okay. Yeah, he was in the ICU for one night, but he's good now. But I wrote this poem after I had gotten the news of what happened, and we didn't really know if he was going to make it or not. If I don't believe in God, then who am I praying to? Because he's 23 years old and just suffered a massive heart attack. But if I don't believe in God, who do I think is listening to my pleas? Who is holding on to this cord? Because I can feel a tug on the other end. If I don't believe in God, who am I asking to send this healing to his fighting body? I must believe in someone because it can't just be you and me pleading with the angels who've come to take him away too soon. I must believe in someone or else I wouldn't be begging so hard. So I must believe in God again. But maybe this God I'm begging to give you a little more time isn't the same God I thought I used to know. And now these ones are a couple of, they're love poems. I wrote them kind of around the same time. They're just kind of short, so I'll just work my way through a couple of them here. Just because you left doesn't mean you didn't love them. Just because you stayed doesn't mean you're still in love. We all have our reasons for loving and leaving. Rarely are they ever what others see on the surface. I wonder for the 1000th time about my reasons for leaving while my heart still held all this love for you, still holds all this love, but is it still for you? Unfriend. I can't press the button. I sit and I stare at it like it's a brown recluse spider, and any contact will leave a gaping hole in its wake. I can't press the button and sever our final cord. I hide behind niceties, claim it's not necessary, but it must be if I'm still thinking about you.
Hello. I've never done this before, so thank you. I'm planning to read 2 poems today. They're a bit different from each other, but I also don't really give my poems titles, so. But I guess here's the first one. For the road is long and often dark. Though lampposts dot the horizon, rarely do they line my path. Occasionally, I'll see another, holding a light, flickering like a firefly in a sea of stars. And sometimes they'll be kind enough to share their light, though their own is wavering. Share something they found along the way. A page, a poem, a lesson or a letter, a story to lighten the load. For me or for them. But ultimately, we thank them and move on, for the road is long and often dark. Thank you. The next one is about video games. I'm quite passionate about them. I think it's a very powerful medium because it's got it's got text, it's got pictures, moving pictures, it combines text and movies and sound and everything, and it's interactive. But I'll stop. I'll just read it. I am a gamer. I live in another world with magic and spaceships and a universe at my fingertips. My parents taught me to play WoW before I could walk and gave me more worlds than one can imagine. Raiding a castle of vampires with other people, taking care of cute slimes, start empires and dictatorships and families, and seeing all of them play out. Watching 2 suns set and 3 moons rise, and the galaxies that show up in the night sky, as I sit with fictional people and they tell me how their family died. Looking for any food at all so my people won't have to cannibalize to survive. Creating an entirely new species and watching them adapt to an alien environment. Going to save my colonist with only a primitive bow, only to find out they've already been mutilated and their organs harvested. I love it all, every bit of it. And one day, I'll make them myself.
I've already done all of my good poems, so now you're getting the scraping at the bottom of the barrel poems. This one is called Executive Dysfunction. I know I need to eat. It's time to eat. I read all of these poems about self-care and my newfound awareness of executive dysfunction and how much effort it takes just to eat. My cats know I need to eat. They left me half a mouse under the kitchen table, a dead bird behind the couch, which took a few days to find, and in case I was desperate, some regurgitated food on the stairs. They know I'm hungry. They sit and watch me hurkle-durkling in my bed, writing poems while the vacuum of 10 atmospheres instantaneously boiling my stomach while a vortex opens a portal in my guts. Anything I swallow will be transported to Alpha Centauri, or whisked back in time to medieval Scotland, or what's the point in eating? Maybe a nap. A nap will alleviate the hunger. A nap is the perfect practice for death. I get to die and then come back when I wake up. Cats do it. Cats will nap for 14 hours every day. Their function is simple. They bite my toes to see if one went missing or if I would notice. They stock my fridge for me with dead birds and decapitated mice and sometimes a bat if I'm lucky. Terrible grocery shoppers, but I can't exactly fire them. It's 4 hours past dinner time. I choke down some vitamins and practice death. This one is called Hypermobility. Hypermobility is an unusually large amount. Hypermobility is a usually large range of movement in the joints. Hypermobile people are able to move their limbs into positions others may find impossible. This does not increase flexibility and instead creates an instability in balance, which causes clumsiness or awkwardness. When I was young, I felt a pressure to play sports because it seemed required of all kids to play sports. I tried to get the gold medal for having the right body and the right height and the right muscles, even though according to the Canadian health guides, I was a failed body. The coaches and their clipboards marked me with coordination problems, C-, and bad attitude, D-. I couldn't land a cartwheel, but I could touch my thumb to my wrist. I couldn't sprint, but I could tuck both feet behind my head. I couldn't aim a ball into a hoop, but I could pick up objects with my toes. Great if I was a monkey, but I kept trying to be human. I tried so hard that I played an entire game of volleyball with a sprained thumb because I didn't want anyone to know that the very first time I set the ball, I had accidentally used my Tyrannosaurus hands instead of human hands, and everybody knows the sports kids, and everybody cheers. They get their picture in the paper, they win awards, they wear matching jerseys, and the rest of us are left in their dust. The parents would say, "That sports kid sure is popular and doing so well in school." My own mother, the captain of the basketball team who won provincial championships twice, left me in her dust. I tried out for the team 3 times and never even warmed the bench. I gave her no games to cheer at, no special number or mascot or newspaper clipping. My conversations with my mother these days are brief. I've got nothing to impress her with. Hey, Mom, I got an award today. You'll be so proud. I was the picked last award. I was the shortest kid in class award. It was the I can't touch my toes award. No team jersey, no team cheer. Actually, all I've got for you is this poem and my self-acceptance and a diagnosis for my Tyrannosaurus arms and my monkey toes and a chiropractor's bill. I hope that's enough.
So just passing through on a bit of a vacation down to southern states, and I headed on the way home, and here we are again. I was here in December. We're back again. Just a bit quick about where we were coming from as far as we were down in LA with my daughter for that Disneyland Hollywood adventure that everybody loves. So she got to see the Danny Tanner house. I got to see the Huey Lewis bar. And then you've never lived until you've seen a 35-year-old mother screaming at a 5 or 6-year-old, both dressed as princesses, while they're going live, and she's screaming in Disneyland, "You're not a princess! You're not!" Clearly both dressed as princesses. And just one last anecdote before I jump into the pre-written stuff. We passed through Joshua Tree on the way back in Arizona, and that Bono doesn't know what he's talking about. All the streets have names. One of the funniest was named Kickapoo. So, Bono, full of poppycock. And then, as again, I'm just passing through, so I kind of only got stuff that's kind of on the draft that I can then take photos of and be one of these guys that reads from the phone. So I've got 10 or 12, but we shortened it down to 4. My daughter picked the set list. We'll see if I follow it. Away we go. Good evening, everyone. Here we go live by Hawaii or satellite or somewhere else. Some such stuffed on a pre-taped video. Flew into the US, too late to transfer. Screw it then, 10, right there on the show floor live. A million alien reasons not to make it live and not to go hot. But none I'm not hearing that aren't anything but gaslit reasons, only holding me enough to hold me down. Good evening, everyone. There I'd like to keep it. In the bibliothèque, that's French for a lot of books in one place together for free. Keep those words written, keen. Keep them close. All the needful thoughts you need to pay your debts and bills along the way. Thank you. I'll say thank you because you don't know if these are ending or if I'm just dramatically pausing as well. Right now I'm kind of writing in a genre, so I'm obsessed with David Coverdale and his time at Deep Purple, and then Whitesnake, and then for some other reason unrelated, 90s Britpop. So a lot of that's thrown into some of the writing that I have on the go right now. Here's one called Cool Blue Views. Always shared good vibes between us. So many days spent by her side, though we never kept score on other strange stances. Real couples' gazes eluded us. We realized we thrived better alone, unaware that what lay beyond our own horizons. Cool blue views. How about you? We tried being together, apart on the road, more and then some, but the you and me never truly existed. Cool blue views now, and then, reminiscent, no more saddle sores, dropped that horse long ago. Heat with strangers that I never felt with you, only because we slid into comfortable too quick, like an old hat, too long, solid and slick. Thank you.
I really enjoy this event. This is actually just my second time here, so I came last time. I really wanted to come again tonight, and I was glad I did, but I almost didn't come out. I wasn't really feeling like it tonight, but remembered how much I really enjoyed the atmosphere here. So thank you again to everybody else who's performed tonight that I caught. It's just been lovely to see that. So I'm going to start with a new poem, which means I've got to look at it and can't do it from memory. So this is a song. All the poems that I read are generally also songs. This one I just wrote a couple weeks ago, so it's still a little fresh. It's called Jacob and Esau. Anybody knows the story from the Bible? So Jacob says, I don't want to sin no more. Esau says, I don't need your Lord. So leave your ghosts on the kitchen floor. But Jacob says, I don't want to sin no more. He says, oh Lord, lead me home. Jacob prays, oh, won't you hear me, Father? Tell me that you care about your sons and daughters. Esau says, why do you even bother? But Jacob prays, oh, won't you hear me, Father? He says, oh Lord, lead me home. Jacob prays, Jacob says, you don't have to sin no more. Esau throws his bowl at the floor. Take your birthright, take your ghosts and your lore. But Jacob says, you don't have to sin no more. He says, oh Lord, lead me home. Jacob prays, Lord, let me never falter. Esau says, remember our grandfather. Took his favorite son, tied him to the altar. But Jacob prays, Lord, let me never falter. He says, oh Lord, lead me home. Jacob says, I'm not going to sin no more. Esau puts his hand on the door. Take your sheepskin, go and serve your Lord. But Jacob says, I'm not going to sin no more. He says, oh Lord, lead me home. Thank you. What's that? I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. So the next one I was going to do is called Watching the Leaves. It was when I was experimenting a little while ago with not having a chorus and a song and just writing sort of a repeating theme throughout the verses. Watching the leaves fall from the trees, feeling the summer sink to its knees, watching the leaves turn to red from green, never could tell you what it means. Watching the leaves fall on the ground. Oh my goodness, here, watching the leaves fall on the ground. Oh, never could tell you what I found. Watching the leaves fall, they make no sound. And I know you're better when I'm not around. Watching the leaves fall where they may. Spring always feels so far away. Watching the morning bring back the day. Winter will tell us just what to say. Watching the leaves dance in the air. But what does it matter if you don't care? Autumn will leave the trees so bare, but I'll never tell you that it's not fair. Watching the leaves turn from red to green, never could tell you what it means.